against our salesman's advice, I actually don't have a mic with me. I was a little bit concerned. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Great. So it's very similar to at my house. Everyone complains that they can hear me everywhere. I was concerned if I had a mic and a clicky thing that I'd be all over the place and I wouldn't figure out which was which, and I'd be talking to the clicky thing and then making the mic move. So we just don't do that. Yell out if it gets tricky to hear. My friends who I met in the atrium are just coming in now. Welcome. Now, a little bit unscripted, I asked them earlier when we were out there if they'll be keen to participate in interpretive dance in here tonight. They looked scared, not quite as much as I did anyway. But just before we kick off, in health and safety briefing, you are here at the Crown Plaza. In case of emergencies, you are going to run, follow the green man on the signs who's going like this, out that way, out of the building, onto the road where you will assemble. If you need the bathroom, it's out back into the foyer, hook back round to your left and then left again. From there, it's relatively self-explanatory. In case you need to vape or smoke, just don't. You'll thank me later. Anyone in the Randall household that's thinking she's going to have a vape. Anyway, we're into it. So, welcome. This is what we're doing tonight. I'm going to be joined by two of my colleagues. I'm excited to welcome to the stage later on Chelsea Mongan, who's our South Island sales manager. Chelsea will be sitting there pretending she's not scared to get up on stage, and she'll look cool and calm even when she gets up on here. Whereas I've got that little thing going on in my throat at the moment where I'm not that keen. Later in the piece, we've got Ed Cockrell, our Business Development Manager for Wolfbrook Property Management, which is a service that makes Wolfbrook a bit different than a number of property developers. But we'll crack on. Picture of me straight off the bat. How about that? All right. So I guess it's really noisy out there at the moment, right? There's newspapers, things, everything's going up, it's down, it's doom, it's gloom, it's the start of a boom. I don't know which way it's going, you don't know which way it's going, so we're going to try and cut through, I guess, that noise. Now this took me, I think, 5 minutes last night to grab 2 newspapers and just literally screen grab, right? This is the amount of stuff out there. You can see the date, 14 June, 15 June, 17 June, right? So in the middle here we have someone emerging from a street fight after spending $3 million on property. Clearly isn't that bad, right? Then down here we've got a quarter-acre dreams available. That's fantastic. But over here we've got someone's getting blamed or in a slum. It's all bad news. So what I'm trying to highlight is it's pretty choppy, right? And it's kind of always good when it's good, and it feels like it's bad when it's bad. Now's a really interesting moment. But never fear, there's always gurus to help you. We've got Grant Cardone up there. He's going to tell you he can turn your money 10 times bigger in like 3 weeks or something. But you have to pay him 12 grand. We've got some of my good friends here. We've got Nikki. She's a property mogul. She was sleeping on a couch the other day, and now she's back to sleeping on a couch again. We've got Tony up there. He's the smiling assassin. He worked at a big bank, so we all have to trust him. It's okay, trust Tony. And then we've got Andrew over there, who's running the largest property podcast in the country at Opus Partners. They're great guys, they do a really good job. He's going to tell you everything is always all good. And sell you a property. And another property. Then I think we've got the guys in positive real estate in here somewhere as well. Now, I tuned into that the other night. You don't need to, don't worry, you're fine. But then, of course, you've got me. So I'm standing up here spruiking property too, right? So what makes us any different or any better? So let's try and cut through the noise, the churn, the gurus, and get to the basics. People buy investment property for financial freedom. Now, financial freedom means different things to different people, right? If you're a 25-year-old and you start your portfolio super young, I'll show you an example of this. You know, potentially at 35, you're living the dream. At 45, you're retired, you're in Corsica. Or it's you're 46, live in the suburbs, you've got one investment property that at the moment not really enjoying, right? Because I'm having to top it up quite a lot. but I know if I hang on, it's going to be okay. Here's a scary stat that I've just thrown down here, and I will get my glasses out because I'm not as young as I look. Average 40-year-old, which is clearly not talking about me, because I'm not 40 years. Average 40-year-old only has $34,741 in KiwiSaver, right? That's not a heap. It's way better than zero though. So do KiwiSaver. I strongly encourage KiwiSaver. I love KiwiSaver. Average salary for that age is 90k in New Zealand. When that person retires at age 65, if they retire at 65, they will have 248,000 KiwiSaver, which is only $218 per week until the age of 90, right? Now, for a couple, I believe New Zealand Super Grand is like $630, $622 or something like that. So if you're both pulling in $200 on top each, and odds are, unfortunately, in most New Zealand households, that this potentially is more likely a male, and it is more likely that the female has less, which is not cool, not great, but it is actually how things are at the moment. So there we go, right, let's cut through it. This is a really nice, pithy kind of, it's financial freedom. The good people at the Retirement Commission, and they're from the government, so we have to believe them, have actually said it really nicely. People buy investment properties to make a long-term profit, the key's long-term, as prices rise. In the short term, there may be little or no profit from rent after expenses. Probably a case at the moment, in fairness, mortgage rates are quite high, and rents are catching up, even though they are moving up quite quickly, and again, we'll share that with you later. And if we sell within 2 years of buying, we also have to pay income tax on the sale. Now this was really recently 10 years for existing houses, 5 years for new builds, but as of, I believe, 1st of July, under the new government, it changed that. 1st of July, isn't it, Chair? Yep. And here's a great thing. Lots of New Zealanders own rental property, and it's been a popular form of investment over the years. Cool, that's from the Retirement Commissioner. So as an asset class, property in New Zealand is $1.59 trillion, okay? The next biggest after that, or not next biggest, but pretty easy one to identify with is KiwiSaver, right? That's like $1.59 billion. So you got that crazy gap, or $15.9 billion. Either way, it's a lot of money. So I guess we're talking about, we've got these kind of a lot of noise in the market. We've got a lot of kind of gurus that jump up at time. And I literally said, so I'm standing on the stage with one of these things telling you that investment properties are great. So I guess, what's the reference point? What lets me say that and not others? So Wolfbrook is investor-centric. So we're investors first. So amongst our competitors, who do a great job as well, they are builders first or developers first, right? Wolfbrook's only been around since 2020, but the directors have been buying investment properties since 2003. So Wolfbrook's directors have been investing since 2003. I'm going to show you a photo soon, you'll be worried. They currently hold over 430 investment properties, which makes them one of the largest, if not the largest, private residential property owner in New Zealand. It's given a pretty good understanding of what investment looks like. 72% of our sales are to investors, and we're currently New Zealand's largest multi-unit and apartment developer by consent. Not something we set out to be, right? We don't set out and go, we are going to be New Zealand's largest builder, we're going to be this or that. We got that large because we work really, really hard, and we make good decisions, and we're powered by this investment property piece, right? So when the market dropped last year and ourselves and competitors got considerably quieter, we just kind of stayed more medium throughout. So we didn't have the massive peaks of one of our big competitors a couple of years ago, but also we haven't had the massive troughs. Now I was saying, so who are these masked men with 430 investment properties? Well, here you go. Now, this one in particular, he's aged quite well. But when I say he's been investing property since 2003, I'm actually not lying, he's 16. So at 14, Stephen became New Zealand's youngest licensed real estate agent, right? Clearly they had to change the rules after that because 14-year-olds running around with that toothy smile just can't go on forever. But so he's grown up really well. And then James there with those pearly whites. Those are the pearly whites which come from a good education in Remuera, aren't they? This is a true life case study. This is Steve's first house. So this is the house from 2003. Purchased August 2003, 89,500. 6 months later, 134,500. Now this is quite different than townhouse, right? So Steve jumped in, tore off some wallpaper, painted some walls, and fixed it up. That had increased to 134 in 6 months. Today it's worth $610,000. That's $520,000 of capital gain. It is completely paid off. He's been a diligent little boy, and is now returning $26,000 a year gross. So you got the $500,000 in the bank, and it's still paying you $26K every year. So when you hear these stories about how the market moves, and you think it's not true and it happens to someone else, it's just about time and market. Lovely, guys. So, when to start? Now, you'll notice actually along the way I've put the source of a few things. This one I could have attributed to every property developer ever, right? When to start? It's about time and market. It's about not timing the market. The best time is always yesterday. It's very big, broad statements. Now, that's true. Yesterday, in general, is probably better than today, but it's hard to say that last week was better than this week and so forth, etc. at the moment. But what I can show you, and this is 100% true, and you can ask everyone in my office, because I only did this slideshow at about 4:30, 5 o'clock this afternoon, so I was having problems. This is now. So that's actually 31 of March 2024. And start date down there is a little bit further back, it's 93, but the actual numbers used are real. So 1994, 30 years ago, 127,000 was the median price. It leapt. Now I know people always tell you property doubles every 10 years. I'm sorry, I'm shattering your dreams. It didn't quite, otherwise that should have been 254. 254? Yep, so not quite. Bloody close. In 10 years later, there it goes again. Yep, not quite doubles in 10 years. Look, I'm happy if an asset doubles every 11 years. I'm not going to complain too much. So this is the reality. That's 506% in 30 years, right? Because it's cumulative. So it's interest on interest on interest, right? So that's what you're missing out on. And this will continue to happen. Now look, this did happen. I'm not going to say it did. I think I've got a pointer here, but let's just do that. So if it was 915 grand, I think it was April 22. So it has come back. Sure, not a problem. But if you bought your house here, it's still a pretty good day at the office, right? And even for the person that did buy their house here, when this trend continues on, they're going to be okay. It's about time and market. Now, the one little extra tool I'd say, rather than just such a sweeping statement as time and market, is this little contraction. Now this is everywhere. I don't come up with this. You can Google this, and I Google most of them. This is called the property clock. Cool. Right. This happens every time, by the way. You can go and put all those blooms in here. So here we were, media hype, more buyers than sellers. That's probably 2 years ago. April, May, well, probably end of 21, early 22. You couldn't pick up the Herald in particular in Auckland without them telling you that you were making more money every night you went to sleep than when you went to work. And that was true for not just the average Joe on the street, that was true for almost everyone at the time, except maybe a couple of brain surgeons. And then what happened? It just got too expensive, right? There's that moment when you just actually kind of wake up and go, shit, I don't want to pay that much, it hurts. Then interest rates start rising and you go, actually shit, I can't pay that much. And that's why the government's trying to rise interest rates, right? It's putting a big handbrake on things. So it tickles a bit at the moment, but it's not the worst thing in the world. So then you get this slowdown, and all these developers, I'm going to run up here, all these developers that started buying everything in the world and building everything in the world, then get to having an oversupply. And they've got all the stock half built, about to build, still near finish. And so they start dropping their prices. This has been, prices start falling, construction slows down because no one wants to build it, developers don't want to build any more houses. And then all of a sudden you get tradespeople knocking on your door again. So, go back 3 or 4 years, it was impossible to find builders, it was impossible to find timber at some stage. We literally drove trucks around the North Island buying timber by the stick. we couldn't get toilet roll holders for a while, you know? That's how nuts it was. That's when you know you've got a bubble, right? So then valuation, we've got lots of tradies now calling every week, we're going to cut our rates, we need to work, and that's really, really tough, right? Because you don't want that to actually happen to anyone. Valuations start falling, we've seen prices come back. All of a sudden there's more sellers than buyers. I think probably next month there will be quite a few more with the changes to the bright line. In fairness, I think you get a little bit of an uptick in sellers. And then along the way you start to get a rental increase, and again Ed's going to share this, but without stealing all of us thunder, I think it's definitely over 6% rents have gone up in the last 12 months. Stock levels start to tighten because no one's building. Now exasperating this is 126,000 people moved to New Zealand in the last 12 months, right? That's the net figure. So a whole heap, that's a technical number, a whole heap left, heaps more came in, 126. So put that in context, that is the size of Tauranga and Mount Maunganui. That's the size, it's bigger than Dunn's, it's bigger than Dunedin, which is a stunning town, by the way. It's bigger than Dunedin and Invercargill, actually, roughly. So all of a sudden, stock levels tighten, people need somewhere to live, there's a rental crisis, it starts driving up rent prices, hear all those absolute horror stories, you know, about people living in short-term accommodation, in cars, etc. They just can't find anywhere to live. And all of a sudden, the builders, traders, developers will start going, hang on, it's time for us to re-enter the market. Now, this isn't great, it's just reality. You know, it would be better if New Zealand had a constant supply of houses that just grows in line with population growth, etc. But it is true, it's a very boom and bust cycle in New Zealand. And not everything's created equal in New Zealand. So when you look at where you're going to buy your property, so the when is now or yesterday or tomorrow. The where, it's as easy as pie, population, infrastructure, employment. So you'll hear these kind of red herrings like Gore, buy a house in Gore. Why? Oh, it only costs 127 grand. Right? Oh, that seems legit, that's 24 grand in deposit, I can afford that. Yes, and you get $3.82 in rent a week. Okay, well that's not ideal. Well actually in some of the smaller towns you'll get it'll cost you 127 grand for the house, but the rent will actually be pretty good. But it will never ever go up. And when the one freezing works in Gore closes, no one's got a job, and everyone moves. Now, the reason I could also talk about Gore and Invercargill and Dunedin is I'm actually a southerner, so I'm okay. And there's nothing wrong with Gore. But looking here, population, infrastructure, employment. This is a case study for why Christchurch is pumping, because everyone is moving from the Golden Triangle, Auckland, Hamilton, Tauranga down here. There's hundreds. We have brand new infrastructure. We have the best convention centre. We have great festivals in the park. We've got a new stadium that's actually going up on time and looks very, very impressive and is actually in the right place. And employment that comes through those projects. So I can hand on heart say I'm interviewing for around 3 or 4 roles at the moment, 3 personally. And I had 8 interviews last week, and 70% of those candidates were all from Auckland. Now, we've had some new people start at Wolfbrook in the last week. Hey Sam, where are you from? Where'd you just move from? Hawke's Bay, great. Anyone else start at, hey, Greg, where'd you come from?
Paradise North.
Paradise North, yes, that is Palmerston North for those of you that don't know what it is. Yeah. And those are amongst 2 of many that we've had in the last few weeks and this year. So looking here, not everything's created equal. Christchurch is still up 4.8% year on year. Now, that's a big number. I don't know when 5% of the year became a small number and everyone stopped paying attention. Auckland itself's up 3%, so all those people that I'm telling you are all fleeing here have been replaced by a bunch more people. Now, Wellington, let's figure this now, down almost 1%. So what's the government doing at the moment? Cutting public service jobs, right? So those people are fleeing for employment. Point there. Your West Coast is always just an anomaly. It's going to have a bunch of mining again soon, change of government, back on exploring, and obviously good value. So the where, I would go with all day long. Starting to say it's easy as pie. The how. Pick your strategy. Now, pick your strategy. I'm going to be slightly biased on this one. That's okay. Buy and hold, that's what Wolfbrook does for a living. We, particularly directors, they amass land, amass property, and over time it trickles down in terms of what's owed on it, equity keeps increasing, allowing us to keep going. Over the last year, when it was quiet around the country in terms of sales, I think we delivered to ourselves, Shan's going to tell me the number, something like 45 houses. Because it will be 45 to 50 that we actually built and just kept. So flip, another thing that back in the day the boys did pretty well, and occasionally we do from time to time. Buy a house, probably an older one, add value to it, out the door. Remember, you do have to pay tax, Dan. Develop. Everyone wants to be a developer, don't they? You saw that in Christchurch over the last couple of years, right? All of a sudden there's a number of big developers, and then every second person's like, oh, I'm going to buy a bit of land and chuck 2-bedroom townhouse on it. That's challenging. It's got a really valid place in the market, but it's not for everyone. It's probably not something you want to do if you don't have a background in it. After you come up with your strategy of whether you're buying, hold, flipping, developing, or something fruitier that I don't know about, get your finance in order. Understand your deposit. Is it cash you've got sitting in your bank, or great auntie Selma died and left you with some money? You've been saving hard as a family for years. It could be any of those. Or you're going to use equity in your house, right? So equity in your house, super easy example. You've got $1 million house, and mortgages, mortgages 400K, you're lucky, and your bank will make you keep 20% in it, right? They'll keep 200K off the million, gets you down to 800, and you hit 400 in debt, you've got 400 grand that you're able to use as a deposit on another property. Little pro tip here, and you can ask about it later, don't use the same bank for both, or if you, for your investment and your home, or if you do, cross out the section where it says that they're cross-collateralized, because if one doesn't go so good, the investment property, they can choose which one they want to take, worst case scenario. Or they can, if you decide to sell the investment property, they're like, nah, we want some more money back. You have to actually, you don't get to use that money, you have to give it back. So it's a little thing, but a big thing. Do the numbers, download investment property calculator off our website. I had a look at that today. Download that, a number of great calculators are available online. The banks are a pretty good place to start. They take it pretty seriously. They've got no bias, right? So I personally go to the bank and consult a mortgage advisor. Chelsea, shall I spruik your husband's services? Right. Animate lending choice would be a good option, and I'm sure Chelsea will give you the number after the show. So mortgage advisor, really, really important, right? So put it this way. If you were dating, because you weren't married, daddy at home, you would only be able to date one person at a time, right? Mortgage brokers speed dating all of them for you. 7 banks, all of them at the same time. It's like the Tinder of banking. So think about that. So that's what Adam's doing every day. He's playing Tinder or banking. Flushed. So mortgage advisor, super important. And then what to buy, right? I've just gone straight for the kill. New build only. Right, we're going to talk about why new builds are a good idea later in the piece, and Chelsea will share her knowledge with you. But yeah, absolutely. It could be an existing property that you want to do up that aligns with your strategy. It could be a new build. It could be in Rolleston. It might be in Gloucester Street. So you're going to make that decision that lines up with your strategy. Grant. A few further thoughts before I hand over to my esteemed colleague. This is just grab tag. So building consents have fallen below sustainable levels, right? Population's growing, everyone stop building. At the moment, there's even quite a bit coming through on building consent data that will never get built, right? So people developers put in building consent, and because the market's changed, they won't get here in the end. Immigration running hot, as I said, 126,000 people annualised. So the thing with those people when they move into the country, only New Zealanders and Singaporeans can buy New Zealand property within that first 2 years, I believe. So the vast majority of these people are going to be renting, right? So two things, it's going to increase rental demand on rental properties or investment properties, but it's also going to move people out of their place into another house. Rental inflation's running at 8%. Sorry, Ed, I stole your thunder there, buddy. And this is like fresh of last night, these numbers. Canterbury had the highest sales count since November 2021. Okay? Boom was peaking then and right through to April 22 because the changes to the triple CFA came in May 22. And I can also tell you Canterbury had the second highest sales count for the month since May 2007. Right? So it's the second biggest month ever since May 2007. It's a long time. I can say what we're seeing at Wolfbrook, not just in Canterbury but across the country, is obviously last year was a little bit quieter, and August last year it picked right back up ahead of the election, quieted down, and then flowed through to September. October quiet while we had an election. November picked back up. December was good. January's always quiet. Everyone's on holiday. February, March, April, we're all back to April 2022 levels. Right? And this is against the backdrop of all that noise, against the really mixed grab bag. Like, are mortgage rates going down? When are they going down? There's a possibility they could still go up. Probably slight, probably not. There's a possibility that house prices could drop in the short term. Absolutely possible. It actually happened last month in a number of places. So that's all happening against the backdrop of higher sales. Higher sales. We're doing April 22 numbers. Something's happening here. You can't import, for want of a better term, or on board, 126,000 people into the country and not put them anywhere. Right? People, that's the size of Tauranga or Christchurch South. So there's something going on here. So now that you know the what, the how, and the when, it's up to you to make that decision. I would say, there is definitely a moment with property investing, particularly at the moment, where, there's times it's not wildly fun. I'm not overly stoked every time I see an OCR not drop. I'm sitting there like, are you kidding me? I really just want to pay less, right? I frankly don't like it. But across the view of property in my timeline, which is probably 20 odd years, I'm kind of happy to sweat it, right? It's a long game, and the timing market is the thing that will take care of everything. So that's enough for me now. I'll pop up later, probably cheeky thoughts from the chair over there. I'm going to welcome to stage Chelsea Wongan, who's our South Island sales manager. She's pretending she's not nervous. She looks devilishly calm, actually. Corks, for you. I'm going to have to speak.
No, I'm fine, I think. Am I fine?
Yeah. You're fine.
Okay. Hi guys, I am Chelsea, the South Island sales manager. I have worked for Wolfbrook for 4 years, thank you Shannon, 4 years. I worked for Stephen James, our directors, and Guy at a previous firm as well. So I have, I suppose, in essence, followed them, although I would probably argue that on most days. So coming into Wolfbrook, I've held many roles within the business. I started as Chelsea from finance, I was in Chelsea from marketing, I was in Chelsea from customer liaison, and for the past few years I have been the sales manager of a wonderful team that has gone through, some really challenging times, as Guy mentioned. I'm glad it's recorded that he said we're doing quite well, yes. Because I'll play that back to him tomorrow morning, probably around 9:30. That's who I am, that's where I've come from, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about, what Wolfbrook can offer you as, potential brand new investors, second time investors, or really experienced investors. So why buy new build? That is what we do. Some of the benefits of buying new builds are a really low maintenance cost. So all of our developments come with warranties. They are built to 2024 standards. They're built with 2024 materials. We've put a lot of thought into the landscaping of our developments. You know, it's not just what you're living in, it's what's surrounding you. There is no point in us putting in a lawn that you have to mow when the lawnmower doesn't actually fit in the property. You know, it's not the kind of property that you want to be spending your time in the garden with, especially from an investment point of view. The lower maintenance, the better. Higher rental incomes, they're warm, they're dry, they're new, they don't smell funny, they haven't had, no offence, but they haven't had students living in them. A lot of the time when people move into our properties, they are the first person to ever step foot in the property, apart from the tradespeople that have built them. So it's going to attract a better tenant a lot of the time, and it's also going to demand a higher rental income. Built to the current building standards, Healthy Homes compliant. I've already really briefly touched on that, but all of our properties are built to New Zealand Healthy Home standards. So what that means is we have certain levels of insulation that are going to be there. Thermally broken windows, you know, all of the things that you require, heat pumps that will sufficiently heat or cool, but more importantly heat your entire house without having to have, you know, a fan heater blasting all night in your 6-year-old's room like I have at the moment. Fully turnkey, so you're not buying a property that you then have to buy blinds for. You don't have to go out and find a dishwasher. You don't have to find a landscaper. Everything is there, it's ready, it's brand new. You know, the polystyrene is still in the dishwasher. Those little clean film things that are really satisfying to pull off, you know, they're on there, so you get to pull them off. That's really important for a lot of people, and it's really important for the people who are going to be living in these houses, even if it's not you. We have better deposit rates, so an investment for a new build is 20%, an investment for an existing property as it stands at the moment, for the most part, is 35%. Again, I'll go home and probably just confirm a few things with my husband around that, because he is a mortgage broker, but you don't have to put as much in to, more often than not, actually get more out of the investment, which is, again, a really attractive idea for a lot of Kiwis. High depreciation expense improves the bottom line, so again, that is newer appliances, you know, everything's brand new, everything's under warranty. It makes it more attractive for you as an investor to buy one of these properties. Pay only the deposit and nothing further until settlement. We'll get into a little bit more of that in the next few slides, but show of hands, has anyone actually bought an off-the-plan property in this room? A lot of Wolfbrook hands going up. But that's good, you know, that shows that you guys are here for the right reasons, because you want to learn how it works. So I will explain that to you. When you buy a new build property off most developers, you know, and Wolfbrook are no exception to that, the way that it works is one of my fantastic sales team will take you through the process of what it looks like to purchase that property. Now, once you find the property that you want to buy, we go back and forth and we get the price that everyone's happy with. You sign a conditional contract. Once you or each party has signed that contract, you enter a 10 working day due diligence period. Now, within that time, you can talk to your mum and dad, your brother, your sister, your auntie, your uncle, your cat, your dog, whoever you need to talk to, most importantly your bank and your solicitor, to ensure that this is actually a viable option for you. At the end of that 10 days, you will confirm the conditions on the contract, or if you need a little bit more time, again, we can do that for you, which a lot of other property purchases you can't. You get to that date, it's take it or leave it, you know, what are we doing here? We can be flexible on that. So at the end of that time, you enter into an unconditional contract. At that point, that property is legally yours. And that is when you pay a 10% deposit on whatever the purchase price we agreed on is, and then the remainder of what you need to pay is on settlement. Now, important to note, the 10% that we require, that is it is alongside what your bank will require from a funding point of view. So Wolfbrook require a 10% deposit for you to secure that property. That 10% can form whatever the bank's requirements is for your deposit of that property. Okay? So those are some of the benefits, we believe, of buying a new build property. Buy Wolfbrook. There are many reasons to buy off Wolfbrook, I believe, but again, much like I said, bias, I work there, I do also own 2 Wolfbrook properties, and am very happy with them, so I am biased as to why I buy from Wolfbrook. But some of the key points is we've got 1 to 3 bedroom properties, so we're not just 2 bed, 1.5 bath with car park, or 2 bed, 1 bath, no car park, which we see a lot. We range from 1 to 3 bathrooms, on-street parking, off-street parking, and garages. So where we can, we will always have a minimum of 1 car park per property. In some areas of the country and in some sites that we develop on, it's just not possible, but we do everything we can to do that. And when all of you have a chat with my sales team over the next kind of week or so, you will find that a lot of the properties, the majority of the properties we offer, have a car parking option, which is very attractive for a lot of people, especially in Christchurch. I think everyone can agree it is freezing at the moment, and you don't want to have to park 250 metres down the street when you've got your reusable, wherever you shop, other than Zagville, but you know, your reusable bags, you don't want to be lugging them down the road 250 metres in the dark at 4:30 in the afternoon, just wanting to get home into your very warm new built home. We've got multi-unit, we've got duplex, and we've got standalone properties. Again, we believe offering a variety is really important, because much like everything in this world, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Some people are really big on the bottom line. You know, they're only worried about the numbers. That's all they care about. They don't care what it looks like. They don't care where it is. If the numbers work, that's what they're going to do. Other people, like myself, are a little bit more emotional about the decision they make. I want it to look nice. I want to feel good about it. Again, having a mortgage broker as a husband, he's more, we can't afford it, or we should buy this one because it's a better financial decision, whereas I'm thinking about what colour the blinds are. We have a range of completion dates, so we've got properties that are almost finished, we've got properties that haven't even started. So again, if you feel like it's too early to invest, we've got options whereby you can secure a property now at today's prices, and you don't have to settle on it for, you know, up to over 12 months. So that gives you plenty of time to build that financial position and not be paying the prices in over 12 months' time, which again is saying that we use a lot in our industry, crystal ball stuff. We don't know what it's going to look like, but hey, hot tip, neither do the economists. They have a way more educated opinion than a lot of other people, but they don't know because it hasn't happened yet. So when people talk about the best time to buy property was yesterday, where that comes from is that thought process of you just don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't think if we stood in this room, how long ago was COVID?
Ages.
Right, 6 years ago?
No,
And
it's
we-
over like a solid.
You know what I mean? If we were in here 6 years ago and we said, hey, guess what? This crazy virus is going to sweep the world and everyone's going to start working from home. We won't talk about that. And then once everyone's in lockdown, interest rates are going to go through the floor and the property market's going to go through the roof. Everyone would have sat here and gone, no, it's not. That's silly. Why? How would that happen? Why would that happen? did. So it just comes back to that moment of, if you're serious about investing, bank says yes, mum and dad say yes, it's a big thing in my household. Solicitor says yes. You know, there are many factors that are going to hold you back from doing many things in your life every single day. And look, at Wolfbrook, we are under no false assumption that this is an easy decision or something that you should take lightly, but there is a reason a lot of these sayings and these statistics exist is because they are real. Price point, which is always a really great thing to talk about, is we've got properties that start at $499, and we've got properties that are, you know, well over that 800 mark. And so a huge range of people. Now that forms different layouts, bedrooms, bathrooms, car parks, where they are in the country, all of those kinds of things. So again, one of the things that I love about Wolfbrook the most is that we are not a one size fits all. We have options. If you're not in a position to buy an investment property that is over that 500 mark, we can help. If you are in a position where you want to and can spend more because that works for you, we can help. The other great thing about Wolfbrook is because our directors have such a robust portfolio and we have such a robust business model, is that we have people coming to us all the time saying, hey, but I would like this kind of house in this location. And we go, cool, we don't have that at the moment, but what we do is we actually do send it up the line and they actually do consider it. So, you know, again, watch this space, because you might start seeing Wolfbrook properties pop up in areas that you haven't seen them before. That's because we've listened to the people that we're talking to and they have told us that that is where they want to be. Since inception of Wolfbrook, we have sold over 900 homes. So as you can see by the map, completed, yep, our bread and butter is definitely in Christchurch from a completed properties point of view. But as you'll see at the moment in construction, we've got a lot happening up in the North Island, and we are expanding what we're doing across the islands. So again, that comes back to what I was talking about. If we don't have the property for you, we listen and we are moving or shifting what we're doing and where we're doing it to align with what New Zealand, not only investors but home buyers, we believe want from us. So Guy asked me at approximately 20 past 4 this afternoon to supply him with 5 properties that I wanted to talk about tonight. And so what I've done is I have taken picks from around the country, and I want to talk a little bit about those. So I have chosen Margaret Road, which is in Auckland. We've got Fitzherbert Road, which is in Lower Hutt. We've got Gloucester Street in Christchurch. We've got Bampton Street in Christchurch, and I chucked in one in Kaikoura as well, because it's actually a lovely development, and it's a development that I hold quite close to my heart because I've spent a lot of time dealing with. Can anyone maybe take a guess as to why I picked these properties? Ed, check me out. Chaos, also, you are not allowed to answer. Anyone?
Good yields.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So they are our best yielding properties by location in the country. So Margaret Road, which is in Auckland, you are looking at a gross yield there of 4.71%. I'm going to come back to Fitzherbert Road in Lower Hutt. Gloucester Street, which is one of our newest developments in Christchurch, is at 4.85%. Bampton Street, which is in Shirley, is 4.84%, so not far behind Gloucester. And then Yarmouth Street in Kaikoura is at 4.61%. Now, those figures are based on our rental guarantee, which, again, we might talk about a little bit later. Fitzherbert Road is a bit of an anomaly, I suppose. The Hut had one of the biggest booms in that property boom post-COVID. It was insane how much people were paying for houses in Lower Hutt. Just crazy, and then it took a real dive. However, rents have stayed really strong in that region because there is a lot of demand for the kind of property that we're building here and the locations that we build. So Fitzherbert Road actually comes out at a 5.66 gross yield. So that's a $630 a week rental guarantee by Wolfbrook only, that we will guarantee you for 2 years for that investment. Now, very quickly, what that means by rental guarantee is, are you going to explain rental guarantee? You are? Ed will explain rental guarantee. Can you talk about Fitzherbert Road?
Sure.
Right. Ed's going to cover that off when he talks. So these are our best yielding properties. Now, when I unpacked these, there were a lot that were around that same kind of yield, and this is a gross yield, which is important to note. Does anyone know what a gross yield is made up of, or how it's calculated? Okay, so a gross yield is your weekly rental income divided by the property price times 100, basically. So whatever your rental income is, times 52, divided by purchase price times 100 gets to your percentage. You'll find pretty much every investor will work off a gross yield because a net yield you are taking into consideration all of your expenses. Now, depending on what the property is made up of, depending on where it is, what your insurance is, what your rates are, what your maintenance costs are, it's actually just too hard to figure out if you're doing it as a group of this is what they're going to look like. But it is a calculation that you can do once you've got all of that information. So gross yield is usually a really good indicator of if this is going to be a good return for you as an investment. And I suppose to give further thought to that, most people hone in on a minimum of around about a 5% yield. So Fitzherbert Road for us is over that. The others are pretty close. And as I say, if we do some negotiating, we can always get people closer to that gross yield that they're looking for. If you came to us and said, hey, this is what I want the return on my investment to be like, what can you do? That's when we step into, okay, what can we do for these people to make that a reality for them? So we have a new development that we have released in the last couple of weeks, which is in Rahira Street in Australia. So lovely part of town, lovely street. We've actually got a development on Rahira Street, which was done a few years ago. Scraven is probably one of the most high growth from this kind of property suburb in the whole of Christchurch. And I think there are many factors that it is, it's close to town, it's close to the hills, you've got a pretty direct route to Rowan Street, which can take you onto motorways and things like that, and it's just more affordable than the other side of Rowan Street for the most part. So what we are offering on this whole development, so irrespective of the price of the property, we will guarantee a 5% gross rental yield on any one of the properties in that development. The way we will do that is through our rental guarantee, which, as I say, Ed will explain later, but it is a very attractive offer, especially in Christchurch, for the kind of property that you are buying. And after this, if you've got any questions around Rahira Street, we've got brochures out the front, and all of my team who will have their name badges on can explain that to you in more detail, and they will go over exactly what that looks like. Further to that, we did a Jumpstart June promotion this year, whereby we are offering a 0% deposit on any of our properties nationwide with the added benefit of an $8,000 cashback. Now, I explained earlier the process of buying a Wolfbrook property, which is when you confirm your contract, you pay a 10% deposit. That is not payable with this promotion until settlement. So what that means is you secure the property, once you go unconditional on the contract, you don't pay that deposit then. If you're buying a property that's not going to be finished for 12 months, you have up to 12 months to gather as much of that deposit as you can or additional funds to put forward for that property purchase. Now, on top of that, at settlement, you will receive $8,000 of clear funds from us, which you can either put towards that deposit at the end of the build. You can take it off the purchase price of the property, or you can, I would probably put it in an account and not tell my husband about it, but spend it on stuff that I don't need. But hey, if you guys live in more honest marriages than I do, then you'll probably put it towards the property. But you can use it however you see fit. So look, on a serious note, use it to your advantage. You know, if you need to use that money to increase your deposit, do it that way. That is why we're offering it. We're not actually offering it for you to put in a secret account and spend on handbags and shoes. So again, if you've got any further questions to that, please have a chat with the team after this. We hopefully have all the answers to any of your questions that you have. And you know, as I think Guy has already communicated, is that everyone in this room who is from Wolfbrook, we all believe in property investment. A lot of us have done property investment. We're not standing up here trying to preach something to you that we don't believe in or we don't believe works. I totally understand the fear around taking that leap into property investment. You know, it is really scary. There are a lot of unknowns, but I think, you know, on the other side of fear stands success, and if you can get yourself into a property in a market that is a little bit uncertain, you are going to secure yourself an investment that in years to come could quite honestly change your life. So the point of this evening is to educate you guys a little bit further on why we do what we do and how we do it and the quality that we do it to, and then to be able to answer any questions that you have around it. So that's my spiel done. Thank you for your time tonight. As I say, I look forward to catching up with some of you after this. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to come and ask either me or one of my team who will have their name badges on, hopefully. And I'm going to hand over to Ed, who is our Property Management Business Development Manager.
Yeah, short and sharp.
Yeah, yeah. And he will take you through exactly how that looks from a Wolfbrook point of view.
Just so I can get a feel for who we've got in the room, if you own an investment property, could you whack up your hand so I can kind of see who you, and if you would love to own an investment property but not yet, that's you. Who's that? Put your hand up. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so a bit of a 50-50 split, if anyone wasn't giving anyone else a bit of side eye. So look, a little bit about me, just so before we get into it. I'm Ed, as the picture and the words say. I've been in the new build space for about 5 years. I bought my first investment property about 3 years ago. One thing that not many people know about me is I'm afraid I'm losing my hair. Yeah, but I thought I would just share that with you today. So I am with the property management part of Wolfbrook's business. What a lot of people don't know is that Wolfbrook actually started as a property management business primarily to service that large residential portfolio that you heard Guy talked about earlier. So it has always been there in the background and provided a platform to then launch the development business. So today, a little bit about us. 745 properties under management. Now that's across the country. The vast majority of those are based here in Christchurch. We're proud of our 99% occupancy rate. Pretty hard to get the triple digits there, but we do what we can. As I said before, we offer a nationwide service, so primarily based in Christchurch, but as of this week we have a boots on the ground property manager in Auckland. We also offer property management services in Tauranga and Wellington and Kaikoura as well. So if you have a property in one of those locations, we might be able to help.
We are rapidly expanding, so I joined the property management team in March of this year. We, in that time, have added another property manager in Christchurch, and as I mentioned before, have more people joining us all the time. Being a property developer, we do specialise in that new build space. We understand the difference between what is wear and tear and what's a defect. When has the tenant actually put a hole in the wall, and when was that probably a tradie, right? We've got that down. So that is something that we do very well. But also, we manage a lot of formerly as-is, where-is properties that our two directors own. So we've got real experience from a property management perspective in both spaces. But I thought I'd take a step back for a minute and think, well, why do you need a property manager, right? Because in theory, it's possible, if you are that way inclined, to manage it yourself. It's also possible to wire your own house. It's also possible to submit your own taxes. And if you get in trouble, it is possible to represent yourself in court. Is it a good idea? I mean, if that's you, go for it. You know, if you really wanted to do that, be my guest. Just make sure you're familiar with the Residential Tenancies Act 1986 rather. Make sure you're familiar with the amendments to that in 2020. If your tenant doesn't pay the rent, make sure you follow the procedures outlined in that legislation so that they can't take you to tenancy court and then you have to pay them all the rent back, right? We're talking about a big asset here, and it makes sense to put it in the hands of experts, people who know their stuff, know the legislation, know the processes, to make sure that you don't find yourself in a very situation. When you're thinking about buying an investment, do you want to buy an investment or do you want to buy a job? Make sure that you budget for a property manager in your spreadsheet so that all you have to do, the hard work that you have to do, is that bit at the beginning, making the decision, and then the property is going to do all the work for you. Do you really want to be a property manager? I have a confession, guys. I'm not a property manager, nor do I want to be one. I'll tell you a story. I first joined the property management team, and day one, I was driving around with Liz. She said, "Oh, Ed, I drew the short straw this year. I had to look after the properties over the Christmas break." I was like, "Oh, tell me about that, Liz." She says, "Well, it's Boxing Day, and I get a call from the tenant, and the tenant says, there's water coming through my light socket." So now, Boxing Day, she has to call up a plumber. He's not too happy to hear from her on Boxing Day either, and sort that whole mess out. I'm like, oh man, I just could not think of anything worse. So, do you want that to be you? I know, certainly, it's not for me. Speaking then to that kind of the 2-year rental guarantee that Wolfbrook is also proud to offer, so what that really means, as Chelsea alluded to previously, is that we are going to guarantee the rent in any of the brochures, any of the properties that you have a look at. We're going to guarantee that rent for 2 years, giving you peace of mind that you will get that rental income coming in. And it makes sense, right? When you have a property management business that has a 99% occupancy rate, we're pretty confident in what we do. We're also confident because we can often get a tenant in place right on the date of settlement. The reason for that is that we advertise well in advance of that property coming to completion, so that once that property settles, we've got all the tenants lined up. One of the concerns that some people have when they are thinking about buying an investment property, particularly if there's more than a few properties in there, is just making sure that you've got tenants in there when you come time to advertise, because of the number of properties coming to the market at the one time. Very experienced in doing this, and as I say, the 2-year rental guarantee gives you that peace of mind. I thought I'd talk a little bit. I do realise we are pushed for time, so just give you a little bit of a market update as to what the rental market is doing around the country. As Guy alluded to previously, we have seen a real tear in the rate at which rents are increasing. 8% is the national average in the 12 months till May, and if you think inflation's running at about 4%, it's well and above what inflation is. So 2 primary drivers of that. Number one, you've got wages increasing at the moment, and number 2, we've just got an influx of net migration, 136,000 people coming out. They can't buy properties when they first come in, you have to rent, so it makes sense, right? Supply and demand. To be fair, we have seen a slight slowdown in that just in the past couple of months, probably paired with the fact that it is the winter season. So, yeah, but look, big picture, rents are on the way up. Oh, look at that, I preempted my next slide. So that is the figure now. If you are paying the average rent in New Zealand, you're paying $650 per week. And just think of it this way, which side of that transaction do you want to be on? Do you want to be receiving that, or do you want to be paying it? I know which one I would rather have. In February, that increased figure was at about 10%, so we are seeing it soften just a little to give renters some hope, and we are seeing a bit more stock coming onto the market as well. But who are these people? Who are the average profile of someone who's renting a property, like the type that you're considering buying? This is data that I pulled from TradeMe, just of those that are inquiring. And you can see the vast majority of those are under 39, 37.5 being under 30, and just shy of 30% being in that next age bracket. Makes sense. As people get older, they tend to buy their own homes and rent less. And that's all from me. So, over to you, Guy.
Thank you. It's a bit slow getting up there. My legs were just starting to work again. How good was that? Both Chelsea and Ed, absolutely fantastic. Nailed that piece. Very cool. Makes me super proud. They get up here. Ed, short notice. Chelsea, literally I roofed because I only she knew she'd be here, but I only give